Respiration Part 4. In this part, we will speak about the regulation of respiration. And in the regulation, we have humoral and neural nervous mechanisms. Okay, we will start with humoral mechanisms of the regulation of respiration. The humoral regulation was proved in the Friedrich Experiment. Friedrich Experiment on two dogs with cross circulation. Dog 1 and dog 2. So what Friedrich did? He made a junction between the carotid artery of the first dog with the carotid artery of the second dog, so that the blood from the body of the first dog was directed into the brain of the second dog, and the vice versa. Carotid artery of the second dog joined with the carotid artery of the first dog, so that the blood from the body of the second dog was directed to the brain of the first dog. After, he clamped the trachea, the air passages of the first dog, clamped, so that the first dog lung ventilation stopped. So external respiration in dog 1 was not possible. And he observed the pattern of respiration of dog 2. So this is the normal ventilation of the dog 2, and after the trachea was clamped, the second dog respiration increased. So it was hyperventilation. Hyperventilation was induced by a certain factor that reached the dog 2 through the blood, because only circulation, only blood was the factor that was transduced from dog 1 to dog 2. So what is this factor? This factor is carbon dioxide tension. So when carbon dioxide tension increases, it stimulates the respiration center in the brain, and it increases the frequency and the depth of respiration. Respiration of the dog 1 also changed. So this is the normal pattern, normal respiration. But when the trachea was clamped, the respiration stopped. So why it stops? Because second dog hyperventilation decreased the carbon dioxide concentration in the body of the second dog. In that case, the brain of the first dog was receiving the blood with low concentration of carbon dioxide, and therefore respiration center was not stimulated, and first dog stopped breathing. Okay, so this is the Friedrich experiment, and it proved that the humoral regulation of respiration is important, and we know that the carbon dioxide, along with oxygen and pH, regulates concentration of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and pH of the blood is important for the regulation of respiration. And they produce an effect upon the respiration center. So let's characterize the respiration center in the brain. So we have respiration center in narrow and wide sense. In narrow sense, the respiration center is located in the medulla oblongata, where we have separate groups of neurons, which we may call inspiration and expiration center. Inspiration center, inspiration, and expiration center, and expiration. So when inspiration neurons are activated, then reciprocally expiration neurons are inhibited, excluding the opposite function. Okay, so inspiration neurons are stimulated by high carbon dioxide concentration. This information about high carbon dioxide concentration is directed to this center from peripheral chemoreceptors, and it induces the activation of inspiration center and inspiration. So that's why if person stops breathing, this is called voluntary apnoea, then after a while his respiration becomes more frequent and more deep. It is called reflectory hyperpnoea. Why it happens? Because carbon dioxide is accumulated in the blood of individual, chemoreceptors are stimulated, peripheral and central chemoreceptors, and inspiration center gets excitation and person hyperpnoea is induced. And vice versa. After voluntary hyperventilation, carbon dioxide is washed out from the blood of the person, and after voluntary hyperventilation, reflectory apnoea is induced. For 10-20 seconds, person respires less frequently. Then respiration normalizes. Okay. In narrow sense, respiration center is located in the medulla oblongata, but in wide sense, almost every part of the CNS is involved in the regulation of respiration. For example, pons modulate inspiration and expiration patterns. It also influences the pattern of respiration. Limbic system. It modulates emotional effect upon respiration. Neocortex. It produces voluntary control of respiration. Person may stop breathing voluntarily. It's the function of neocortex. So it is included in the respiration center in wide sense. And also spinal cord. It also has the neurons which may control the respiration. So almost in every part of CNS we may find neurons which may be included in the respiration center in wide sense. Okay, so we discussed humoral control of respiration. What about the nervous control of respiration? So nervous control of respiration is produced by vagus nerve, and vagus nerve gets excitation from special stretch receptors which are located in alveoli, in lungs. So these stretch receptors are stimulated by the inflation of lungs, by expansion of lungs, and by vagus nerve, special fibers of vagus nerve, afferent fibers of vagus. So through these fibers, excitation goes to the central nervous system. So vagus carries these excitations, spikes, to expiration center, to expiration centers of the medulla oblongata. And in this case, inspiration center is inhibited and person stops inhalation. So this is hearing reflex. When person inspires, he normally gets only 500 ml tidal volume in his lungs, not more, because this reflex stops inspiration and induces expiration. If both vagus nerves will be cut, the branches of vagus which innervates the lungs, then respiration will continue, but the respiration will be more deep and less frequent. So, taking into account and summarizing this information, the nervous control of respiration is the function of vagus, which carries the information from stretch alveoli receptors to the expiration center. Okay. Now we should speak about the first breath of a newborn child. So when the fetus is in uterus of the mother, then respiration takes place through umbilical cord. But during the delivery, the oxygen supply stops and carbon dioxide accumulates in the blood of a newborn child. And this carbon dioxide stimulates chemoreceptors, and this stimulation activates inspiration center in medulla oblongata. It activates the neurons of inspiration center, and from these neurons the excitation goes to external intercostal muscles, to diaphragm. The child makes the first inspiration, first in his life, and cries. At the same time, the tone of the respiration center is increased sufficiently by extensive excitations which are received from multiple receptors, from many receptors, from skin receptors, from touch receptors of touch, thermal receptors, etc. And this afferent input sufficiently increases the excitability of the respiration center and also favorizes the inspiration. And also we should speak now about the respiration in the changed conditions, in the conditions with high and low pressure. High and low pressure. Okay, let's start with the low pressure. Low pressure of air. Most frequently we may find in the mountain. When person climbs the mountain, the pressure decreases. So up to 2000 meters to 2 kilometers. So nothing happens and person feels well. Person feels well and nothing happens and everything is fine and no symptoms observed in this case. When person gets higher, is climbing higher, then partial pressure of oxygen decreases because the pressure decreases, and hypoxia is induced. Hypoxia will induce the adaptation to this high altitude. What will happen? The heart frequency, heart rate increases. The respiration, frequency of respiration increases. Minute volume of respiration increases. But nevertheless, person will be tired very soon after the even not very heavy physical exercises. So, in this case, another type of adaptation is initiated. Hemoglobin level increases. Red blood cells count increases, but it takes time. So erythropoietin is produced in kidneys, and it takes a few weeks to increase the hemoglobin level and red blood cells level in blood. But after several weeks, a person will adapt and feels much better at the same altitude. It may be up to 6,000 meters and even 7,000 meters. If person wants to go higher, climb the Everest, he should take oxygen with him to saturate additionally saturate during respiration the blood with oxygen. The people who are living in Tibet, for example, they have genetically programmed adaptation to these high altitudes, and the capillaries are more dense in muscles and tissues, so that the saturation is much more effective in those people. Okay, and now let's speak about the high pressure of air. It may happen during diving. When people reaches the depth. So if each 10 meters of water, they add 1 atmosphere, 1 atm. So when person dives, the pressure of air and respiration continues. For the scuba diver, the partial pressure of oxygen on this depth increases. Partial pressure of oxygen. The more is pressure, the more oxygen is accumulated in blood, but not only oxygen. The solubility for nitrogen also increases. So gases are soluble in water, in blood, and the more is pressure, the more its solubility. The problem may arise when person ascends and goes back to sea level, to surface. When he surfaces, then oxygen may form bubbles. So because it goes from soluble state too quickly. And these bubbles, they may block the circulation in vital organs. and this complication is called air embolism. Air embolism. Air embolism, which may be fatal. So what should be done? First of all, person should ascend, not quickly, but gradually, making several stops for decompression, and then nitrogen is released from the blood smoothly and forms no bubbles. But if person makes a mistake, then he should be placed in the conditions with high pressure of air, in chamber, hyperbaric chamber, or should be returned to the depth, and then nitrogen will be again in soluble state, and then he should ascend carefully and gradually, not too fast.